Welcome to Radio Free Nintendo. It is March 9th, 2022, and I am James Jones. I'm joined today by Mr. Greg Lay.
Ahoy, hoy, everyone.
Mr. Guillaume Vayette.
Good evening.
And not Mr. John Lindemann, because we actually don't know where he is. He's not around. He hasn't told us he wasn't going to be around. He is 23 hours away from being declared a missing person. So we will keep you up to date as we learn more. This is episode 813. And we're just going to get right down to new business, I guess. Not that I've decided on what the order is. Okay, well, that'll be cool. Greg, why don't you start us off?
Sure. Well, I came into the week thinking I'd probably talk about Doom Eternal, because that's what I've probably spent the most time playing on Switch. Because I went on this weird first-person journey, started with GoldenEye, coming to Switch Online, then to Metroid Prime. And then, like I said, when I played Metroid Prime Remastered, I kind of made a point, I'll do basically the original control scheme, but just with the ability to gyro aim when you kind of stop and, kind of aim with the cursor in the original, and you can do that with gyro as part of what they call the hybrid scheme. But, it was still fundamentally very much the same as that original control scheme, which itself actually had a lot of overlap with GoldenEye, because of the fact that you're kind of just moving with the control stick, and you don't really have a second stick, but just with lock on rather than using the C buttons to kind of peer out or anything. So there was continuity there, but then when I got to the phase of the game where it's okay, I want to kind of, I've basically done it, but I want to see how many of the pickups I could get. I sort of thought, let's try the dual analog controls now. The game's done, basically. Let's actually see what it's like as a dual analog game. So I kind of did a big sweep of the areas, trying to mop up any items I could find, using the new controls. And yeah, they work perfectly well. You kind of see some of the kind of limitations of the enemy AI more when you don't rely on the lock-on as much. You're kind of more aware of, the enemies. Normally when you're locked on, obviously you are just, you've got that one enemy that's going to stay, very much at the center of your view, naturally. Whereas if you just kind of more naturally using dual analog, using with the motion controls as well, and not so focus on one individual enemy, you can kind of see the crowd more, and it's they're just kind of standing around not doing a lot, aren't they? But that's the thing, it was never by their own kind of marketing, the first person adventure stuff and all that. It wasn't really, all about a shooter, but certainly, you could feel how much it's not really balanced and even back on Trilogy, you could feel with the Wii remote controls, you could feel the fact that it's it's not really balanced for these controls, but it's still nice to have them. It's still smoother. It still feels more user friendly and stuff. So, and then having got to that point where it's all right, I've weaned myself off the GoldenEye, the Metroid Prime. I was well, I've got Doom Eternal that I bought when they were selling it very cheap. So maybe I'll just segue straight into that for, dual analog, and motion controls and all that. And so I did. And I think I'm a decent way into the campaign now, maybe, a bit more than halfway, but not exactly sure. But maybe I'll wait on that, until I've got really close to the end, or as far as I'm going to get with the campaign, because it's probably not too far away. Because there've been quite a lot of other things coming up this week, as it turns out. There was a proper demo rather than that little glimpse that was in Bayonetta 3 for the Bayonetta Origins game. So it is just the start of the game. Your progress can carry over and stuff. So yeah, I thought I'd give that a look. And the thing is, because it's the start of the game, it's quite exposition heavy. It's a children's storybook aping kind of thing. So, it's not really exposition heavy. It's not, it's severe, like loads of, kind of dense stuff to go through. But, it's kind of, it's quite deliberate. You know what I mean? Like, if you are trying to mimic a children's storybook style, you kind of, laying it out very clearly, and not doing it really snappily or anything either. So you kind of got that to get through. But the most interesting part of it, having seen before, the aesthetic and all that, was actually the part where you get to okay, Cheshire, you can control him separately with the right stick, and you have to kind of work quote unquote together with the two characters controlling Cereza with the left and Cheshire with the right, and he's kind of but you can kind of put this game really sticks it to the Wii version of or the Wii reboot, whatever you want to call it, of A Boy and His Blob, because it hasn't got a hug button, it's got a hug mode. Where Cheshire, when he's reverts back to his stuffed toy phase, that is referred to as hug mode. So it's you've got these times where you can kind of just extend him out, almost like a little zip line and stuff, and use it to make jumps and stuff. But then other times he's got to fully separate and become his own, character to beat stuff up in combat, to clear obstacles, all that kind of thing. So it was interesting to see that in action, because that appears to be basically the game. You know what I mean? That is the real core of the kind of gameplay that's going to be on offer in the final thing. And of course, again, because it's the very beginning, nothing too strenuous there, but you kind of see the potential for some interesting kind of interplay, as it were, among the two characters. But some of the question is just how far do they want to push it, given that seemingly some sort of greater accessibility, is the priority here relative to, Platinum's other output down the years and other Bayonetta branded games specifically. But, if you wanted to, I think seemingly, this sort of puzzle solving, I guess one of the things I kind of thought of, was, Spirit Tracks, with, the Phantom Zelda stuff, where you've got two characters, that are kind of working together. Something that I actually have played, and that even though Phantom Hourglass was probably not one of the most puzzle heavy or puzzle kind of leveraged Zelda games, that Spirit Tracks kind of went some interesting places with those sorts of puzzle ideas, even though it's a Zelda game on DS. Accessibility was obviously a priority for that, so I feel like there's potential there. But I certainly would be looking at reviews to see kind of how truly do they kind of exploit some of this setup to get some interesting kind of puzzle solving or whatever. But as you'd imagine, the presentation still looks very strong, having got a bit of a better look at it. I like the way that when you sort of team up to Cereza kind of uses her magic to hold things in place for Cheshire to then beat up, the way they almost sort of snap back to you like a heavy bag, boxing training. It's very cute. A lot of it is seems very cute, very nice, kind of aesthetically and all that. It's like I said, it just remains to be seen, what the substance is on this kind of scale for the game as well. How much can you kind of string out this kind of gameplay for how long and it feel kind of satisfying and still have it go new places. But that'll be out in a matter of days after this podcast is released.
It kind of snuck up on me.
Yes, that's the thing. I mean, I guess they had to do this to some extent just to kind of remind people, this is a thing that's coming, even though Bayonetta 3 wasn't that long ago. And, obviously, yes, like I said, reviews presumably will come in just a bit before it actually comes out, to even closer to this podcast. And then, everyone will have a better idea. But, like I said, sort of some promise there, but, we'll see how it turns out. Now, with then of course there was also Metroid Fusion coming to the expansion pack this week, so
Right.
just by itself, like, so I don't know. Yeah, is that going to be it for this month for expansion pack? I don't know.
That's not promising.
That wouldn't be terribly promising, considering they have got seemingly a lot of stuff, with GBA to put on there. It feels like there's a hell of a lot more realistically than there is on N64. When you think of N64 historically, in terms of when the system was around, but also then like the amount of games that have come out on previous virtual consoles, like you always feel like, there's not that many that's going to come, so you kind of more accept the idea of like one a month or whatever. Although, spare a thought for poor Japanese expansion pack subscribers. I don't think they got GoldenEye. So, like, this is like the first expansion pack thing. The GBA games were the first expansion pack in general, with the Nintendo Direct, kind of immediate release. That was the first thing they'd got for a while, although the Japanese N64 NSO did get the 2 custom Robo games, which naturally we didn't, because, they were never translated. But still, nice for them to get something, finally. But, Fusion is, something I certainly like a lot. It's, it might still be maybe the best, like, action sort of Metroid. I mean, I suppose Dread has got something to say about that, I think, at this point. And I like the action element of Other M, actually. Like that the action part I had no problem with. There's everything else, when it's trying to tell a story, when it's trying to get you to find a particular pixel on the screen, those are not very good. But I actually kind of took to the weird, like, control a 3D game with the D-pad, like, we've kind of segued back into pre-DualShock PlayStation era. Like, I actually got on with it quite well in that regard. Now, some really cool bosses and stuff, but Fusion is kind of, as anybody who's actually played Fusion and Other M will know, Fusion is the original. It's, and really the best of those two. It's the Other M is kind of like a remake, but in certain regards, but obviously expanded into its own take on, putting the series in 3D. It's, as in terms of like the bosses, the difficulty, like the controls, all that, like I really feel like it's, actually showed that it was 8 years later than Super Metroid and learned some lessons. But what it isn't as successful at now, is like the atmosphere and the visuals and stuff, because it's very driven by the fact that it was still at that time pre-GBA SP. So the visual design is very bright. For a Metroid game, it's just like, you look back on, because I think even though it wasn't that much later, like even with Zero Mission, it was like, the SP's a thing now, so we don't have to go crazy. But, with Fusion, it was, not that far removed from, I think, it was a year and a bit, from like, Circle of the Moon, with the Castlevania game in the Metroid style that launched with the system. And of course, everyone was like, I can't see it. Can't see what the hell's going on. And when you got to the second one of those, it was very garish in the colour scheme, and Fusion is, I don't know whether it's that far, but, it's very colourful. It's, and obviously as well, the GBA, there were differences. What it was kind of good at, it's lower resolution, so naturally it's not as given to as much detail as Super Metroid, which itself went for quite a relatively kind of detailed aesthetic. And then with the sound, also, it's not, it's quite a different sounding game. It hasn't got the same kind of atmosphere as the Super Nintendo game, but I think it is effective on its own terms. But I don't think I've played through Fusion since maybe the mid-aughts, I'm not sure. I feel like there was a time where it's like, okay, I have a DS now, or maybe it was the Micro, and it's like, I should play this on a system where I can see it more easily, than the first time. Because when I played it the first time in '02, shortly before I played Prime, I didn't have, there was no SP. There was no Game Boy Player. I didn't have that yet. So it was just, me playing it next to a lamp. That's it. Even though it was, a fair bit brighter than Circle of the Moon, I still needed that kind of help to play it. But as I mentioned before, I want to unlock that Japanese, hard difficulty because it came out in Japan later. It's not uncommon with like Metroid in those days because it was a bit of an afterthought for that market. It was a very Western facing property, but somewhat sort of perversely, what that meant was that, sometimes like they'd kind of iron out some bugs or add a little, some stuff for the Japanese release. And I think with Fusion, there's the hard difficulty, but then there's also, I think, some extra like artwork for completing the game with certain thresholds in terms of, how quickly and with how many items. It is kind of like the better, slightly better version of the game, even though it's for the market that didn't really care. So that's accessible, through having a Japanese account to download the Japanese app, and I've been making my start on it, and because again, I did play Zero Mission on Wii U. That is my preferred sort of GBA Metroid, I have to say. So when that was an option, I was like, I'm going to buy that. I'm going to play that again. It's the most replayable Metroid, I think, by like quite a margin, because it's short and easy, but B, it's also just really well constructed to that end. Whereas the more scripted nature of Fusion, it's not as, replayable, but it's still very brisk. You know what I mean? Like, the briskness of it actually, it was funny. When we were talking about Metroid Prime, I was relaying that sort of story about like going, into a dead end, but it's like, here's an energy tank. But then it's like this really arduous journey back because you're in water and it's just quite a slow paced game. There's virtually exactly the same thing in Fusion, except it takes a matter of seconds. Like, it's like, oh, look, there's a dead end. Like the computer told you to go somewhere. In this case, it's explicitly like, go to this place, and you go like the most obvious route, like the kind of route of least resistance, and something's collapsed, and so actually can't go that way. You're gonna have to find some other way to get there. But they give you an energy tank, like right there. But of course, again, because it's 2D and you're zipping around and all that, it's like, I'm back on another path. Almost instantly, it feels like, by comparison. That's just one of the ways in which, that kind of design just flows more easily, more naturally in 2D. I look forward to, seeing it through, getting all the bosses, unlocking that hard mode, but I don't know that I'll go straight into the hard mode. That might be a bit much to play it back to back. And I don't know if the hard mode will really add anything meaningful to the process. It's kind of, I feel like hard modes in Metroid sometimes, can be slight, you come away feeling like, in some ways it was worse, wasn't it? Because especially in like a Prime, it's like if you play Metroid, I've beaten Metroid Prime 2 in hyper mode or whatever, but like, it didn't need to be harder. It didn't need to have bosses that take longer to kill. I think that most people that play Metroid Prime 2, and people like it, like I do, would probably agree that that's not something the game needed. But I guess the main value I tend to see in a harder mode for a Metroid game is like, it kind of forces you to think about like, okay, what pickups can I get as quickly as possible? So whereas, you might see a pickup that you can't get yet, and then return to get it at your leisure, like, it kind of forces you to think a little bit more about, okay, no, I really could use with the extra missiles as soon as possible, and kind of making you think about how quickly can you get certain things, and just being kind of more using, because it's almost always going to be something that, you come to having unlocked the difficulty on a previous playthrough, using your knowledge of that earlier playthrough of like, okay, how can I get ahead of the curve relatively? Because I need to be more so now. So it can add something, but I'm not sure it will. I guess I'll find out. But yeah, I'll probably enjoy this first playthrough, and also I can't understand what Adam's saying, but I don't have to, because I think I could just rely on my knowledge of the game from, even though I haven't played it in so many years. But, it just like, I think it came up with when I played Rhythm Heaven Megamix in Japanese. Like, when it came out later in English, and everyone was complaining about how much, like, it talks to you. And I'm like, yeah, you really don't know. I mean, yes, you have to press the A button a lot, but you just don't notice. Because I'd be the same. If it was in English, I would feel the need to read it, But when you can't understand it, you could just sort of remorselessly hammer the button to get through it as fast as possible. And you don't notice it nearly as much, so how much it sort of bogs down the pace. So, yeah, it promises to be quite a bit of fun. Hopefully we'll get some more of those GBA games a little bit quicker than one a month. I guess we'll see.
It would be nice if, they gave something to the people who haven't bought the premium edition.
Well, yeah, that's true, because, I mean, just at least that first tranche of regular Game Boy games, Game Boy Color, like, that was the first thing that have been given for quite a while, because, I mean, there have not been that many updates to the Super Nintendo and, NES libraries, have there? Because, like I said, I mean, they're kind of close to tapped out, especially on Super Nintendo first-party stuff, as we mentioned, like, apart from Super Mario RPG, most of the things are there, excluding like hardware edge cases, right? So it's like, we don't have Mario Paint, and we don't have Mario and Wario, and we don't have Yoshi Safari, and stuff like that, the Super Scope in that case, so yeah, we're going to have those. You'd expect that, but most of the other stuff is there. I'd still like to see if you could have found some more third-party stuff, I mean, there's been some, but so that's nice, but yeah, for
there's got to be something available, for fuck's sake.
The regular Switch Online folks, that's kind of one of the nice things about the Game Boy games, just like, just something for those people again. But yeah, it's kind of, maybe, later in the month, we'll see, that half of the service get some more Game Boy games. I hope so.
God, it's tough living out there. I'll be honest, like the game, like I've gone through pretty much all the Game Boy offerings at this point. I mean, we've only had it a month.
Well, some are very quick, aren't they? Obviously, Kirby, Super Mario Land 2 is pretty quick. I mean, Zelda is the more substantial one, but I've played through it many times. It's not at the top of the list.
I haven't even started it.
As we've already mentioned, previously. Yeah. Demon's Crest, it's not like a massive game. I'm sorry, not Demon's Crest, the Gargoyle's Quest, the predecessor.
Yeah.
But Demon's Crest is on the Super Nintendo as a part of the service, as a nice example of the kind of third-party support I kind of wish there were more of. Like, I really feel like the Konami equivalent would be like, Goemon, for instance, but there's no Goemon. Because, I mean, they're not doing a Goemon collection, are they? So even, I mean, they could. I wish they would, but they probably won't. So just put it on NSO or something. But anyway, Gargoyle's Quest is a fun game that's, it's not that big, but it's got some teeth to it because it's in that series.
Yeah. It would be nice to see, I don't know, just like one game a month for each of the systems. Like, that's not that big of an ask. I refuse to believe they can't find 12 NES games in a goddamn year that they can release.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Crazy. I don't know whether you want. You can't help but wonder a little bit at a certain point where it's like, we want to have the expansion pack stuff get like more regular updates to try and induce people to go that way. I don't know, but the bottom line is there should be. You can't take the people that are on the regular Switch Online for granted. If you don't keep uploading stuff, then it's bound to at some point hit your retention rate on that end.
Yeah, I guess they've got you over a barrel though, because if you want expansion pack, you have to pay for this anyway. So.
Oh yeah, that's certainly true.
Yeah, you're a hostage. We're all hostages in Nintendo's world. Anything else you want to talk about, Greg?
Well, the other thing, I suppose, is that also comes from the expansion pack, at least for me, is the Mario Kart DLC dropping.
Yeah.
But,
right.
Guillaume, you usually kind of quick on these as well. I've run through both the cups, but I've not played them extensively. It's like twice for the first one and once for the second one.
Is that what you plan to talk about, Guillaume?
Yeah, basically. I've played twice the first one and twice the second one, so I have the more experience here.
Senior. All right, well then I'm going to switch the order on my page. And Guillaume, why don't you and Greg talk about the new Mario Kart DLC that came out, 2 days ago?
Just last night for me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So Wave 4 came out last night, without warning. So that's how Nintendo has been releasing these things. So Wave 4, the Fruit Cup, which is Amsterdam Drift, Riverside Park from the GBA game, Dark Summit from the Wii title, and Yoshi's Island, which is appropriately, in the Fruit Cup, which is represented by an apple,
so
which of course is...
The DK, right? DK Summit.
DK Summit, is that not what I said?
I think you said Dark Summit, which is a rather different connotation in my mind.
No. Dark Summit was what was that? The game with the Skittles?
Snowboarding game.
Oh.
No, that's Dark Sky.
Okay.
Dark Summit is the dystopian snowboarding game where you snowboard against pollution mega corporations that are trying to destroy the world.
Okay, so DK Summit...
I'm not making that up. You can Google it.
So DK Summit is the track in Super Mario Kart, the dystopian track in Super Mario Kart where Shy Guys have access to snowboards.
That's pretty dystopian.
Yeah, it's from Mario Kart Wii originally. It's, it kind of built on the DK track in... a Double Dash, which you got shot out of a barrel cannon to the top of a mountain and then came down. So they just thought, well, that could be a snowboardy type thing. So that's what they did the
giant cannon thing is your ski lift, basically.
Yes.
Yoshi's Island, it's so well done, but I don't know how much we want to go into each individual track. I guess I'll finish the Boomerang Cup has Bangkok Rush from Tour, Mario Circuit from the DS game, Waluigi Stadium from Double Dash, and Singapore Speedway from Tour. Now, one of the first things I noticed with the Amsterdam track, the Bangkok, and the Singapore tracks is that, and this is something that I've noticed also in the Paris track and all those places where it's walkable cities, where they decide to split the road into two smaller, lanes for cars, but in the middle there might be trees, there might be, a place for pedestrians to hang out or to stop, so that they don't have to cross a wide road, all in one shot. And, it really gets in the way of your racing. So now I'm against walkable cities. It really does anger me as a motorist,
because one day it could get into Mario Kart Tour, and then that could get into Mario Kart 8, which is immortal at this point, we must assume. And screw that infrastructure.
Absolutely. The cars should have all the space all the time, because otherwise you crash and it's not good. But so those are fun, and it's weird. It's fun to explore Amsterdam. Of course, there's a lot of tulips. It's very pretty.
Yeah, well, it's the thing they do with those tour courses a lot is the fact that basically the laps are not the same. They're really quite different. The sort of different routes. Some are kind of modified, and then others, some of these later tour tracks, or later in them being added to Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. I don't know, what the sequencing was like in the mobile game originally. It just seems this is basically just a different track at this point. You go from, driving, among the windmills or whatever in one lap to going underwater in another, to the tulips in another lap. Is really quite different. And these seemed that's the thing, this bunch of tracks, basically had 4 of them that were new to me. because Yoshi's Island obviously is entirely new. Like, I assume it will show up in Mario Kart Tour, but it hasn't to this point. And then 3 tracks from Tour, which, are new to me because I've not played that mobile game. So that half of them being new is kind of perhaps some of the, kind of equation here, but a lot of them seem pretty interesting to me. Like, there seem like there's a fair bit going on, because as we covered, when they went up, like some of the earlier ones, it kind of felt like you were incorporating some relatively kind of basic tracks. But I guess, the Mario one from it's not the most basic speedway track in Mario Kart DS, because that's the Luigi Speedway or whatever, which I think they already did. But, it's still pretty standard. And then like the Riverside one, from the, GBA is also, pretty ordinary. But a lot of the rest of them, felt like, still, quite engaging tracks.
Yeah, well, that's one thing that I noticed, because you had pointed out last time that some of these came out when Wave 3 came out, that they seem to be done with the kind of the easy simple tracks, but now they're back, and I kind of wonder, like, is it because we're back to the start of a line of cups on on the menu screen?
Yeah, it's kind of, because like this is like the beginning of the second half of the booster pass, isn't it?
Right.
And of course, they've decided now that characters will be included, because you've got Birdo, but they've got more gaps in the character selection screen, suggesting that subsequent updates will also have new characters, not just Birdo. So it kind of feels like this is almost like a little bit of a reboot for the booster pass.
Yeah. But yeah, so I'm enjoying these a lot, and like some of these are have a complexity to them. The Yoshi's Island track, it really made my day. Like, it's really as pretty much everything they could have hoped for, with the little like doop 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 before the start actually starts.
They've done it for like Animal Crossing F-Zero, where they've had those sorts of tracks where you have like the bespoke like kind of victory fanfares and all that kind of stuff, sound effects in some cases, or the currency, the coins, like of changed,
Yoshi coins.
You got Yoshi coins here and stuff. So it's kind of getting the treatment as if it's like an entirely separate franchise, which is a bit, obviously, but it's more, within Mario than F-Zero, but, that it's got that kind of level of, like, attention to detail and stuff. I do like it when they, do stuff that feels more embedded in, kind of Mario history and the other games, it's like, it's a small thing, really. It's not terribly important, and, it doesn't matter too much, but, there's a lot of Mario tracks that are just like, well, it's a speedway, but, there's a pipe, and there's a few toads, or, it's a farm, and that's it. There's not really anything other than Mario about it. It's a farm.
Right.
But to have the tracks that's just like, no, we're going to get as many sort of like references in as we possibly can. With this, like, you kind of go through little tours of different, like, Yoshi's Island. Like, it's really quick, but it's just like, here's just a tiny little bit of crystalline caverns before we go all the way up into the sky and then come back down again. And, that red kind of, broken line platform that we talked about from the trailer, and all the little touches, it's just like, this is, I could stand for a few more of these, certainly before the booster pass is over, but also, just in general with Mario Kart. But I mean, there are quite a lot of really cool, there's just so many tracks now. You certainly could point to others they've already made that have this kind of level of detail in them.
Yeah, I no, it's true. Like, Super Mario Kart was so closely tied to Super Mario World, and like the ghost houses, the Bowser levels, like it was all like donut plains. Like, it was like
chocolate,
1-to-1,
the chocolate world or whatever.
Right? Yeah. So, but then, like, as soon as early as Mario Kart 64 came out, you get the farm. Although now, like, I would not like those cows are very cute. They breathe.
It's kind of like Mario Kart history now, isn't it? It was in Mario Kart 64, so it's a thing. But like originally, like, no, it's not a thing. It's a farm.
Right, yeah, but like like in especially like in Mario Kart 8, like the cows eventually like they're just walking all around and they like it's the early morning, it's cold, you can see the breath that they exhale, and like,
that's it. I mean, obviously with the Mario Kart 8 graphics just bring a lot more to it, don't they? And the music as well. Like I love the music on that level.
I have been playing like the N64 game recently just because it's there, and I just I was shocked. Like, oh, do the cows not even wait? Where are the cows? And they're not on the track; they're in the fields. Like what you get on the track is the gophers, the whatever you call them,
Monty Mole,
the Monty Moles, right? And I was so confused. So lots, like they've really added so much to these tracks. It's hard to remember when you've been playing Mario Kart 8 for the past 10 years.
Especially some ones that have been remade multiple times. Like you start to get hazy on what it was actually originally like and stuff. But yeah, I mean these treatments have generally been really, really good. And then, like I said, with this though, you've got four tracks that I hadn't played before. I mean, I guess the Waluigi one, like, is the one that's just like, it's funny, like, playing that, it's like, oh yeah, like, I do remember this, but I hadn't thought about it in ages. Like, and I played Double Dash quite a lot, but this was the one that was just like, yeah, you know what I mean? Like, if it was, I'm pretty sure it is coming at some point, that dinosaur track, or that DK one I already described, that's the forerunner to the DK snowboard one. It's just like, yeah, I would have been much, but this one is just, oh yeah, I guess there was like a Waluigi dirt track one, whereas like, in Mario Kart 64 it was the Wario was the dirt track one. I'd really quite forgotten it about as much as it was all in there somewhere. But yeah, when you get the music kicking in, obviously the much nicer instrumentation music kicking in and everything, I thought actually it was quite fun, but it just surprised me how much I blanked it in my mind. It's just like when I think of Waluigi tracks, I guess I was just thinking like the pinball one, which they've already done. And stuff rather than that.
Yeah, Waluigi Stadium is weird because it's mostly just Wario Stadium, except that this one has like kind of those half pipe things, like where you climb up the walls, you can jump off and grab like extra coins or an item box. But that's basically it. It's the same like rings of fire as the Wario Stadium. And it's weird because like you've got DK Summit as well, which has like the half pipe thing going on. So I find that there's a lot of that in this wave of DLC.
Yeah, not really sure the whole, and it hasn't been because I think, because of the close ties to Mario Kart Tour. There's, the whole, anti-grav, like, element of Mario Kart 8 has been, very much de-emphasized in, these extra tracks. But yeah, that, for this, pack, like the sort of substitute for that, is those kinds of, and especially, the thing is, like, it's kind of cool, what I always do, as I mentioned before, is I always play these straight away at 200cc for maximum chaos. It's just like, I have no, especially when four of them are new to me. It's like, I don't know what the hell I'm doing, but I'm going to be doing it very fast. But yeah, it's good on those tracks. It's just like, well, I'm veering towards the side at incredible speed, but it's okay because it's not a hard barrier. I just go up and come back down. So it kind of works.
Yeah. And yeah, other than that, I don't have much to say except that Singapore Speedway has rooftop pools where you have Goombas and float tubes in the pools, and I think that's awesome.
They can't swim.
Both right. the Bangkok, the Singapore, like they both have like the idea of you actually racing on water. Whereas, obviously, like the Amsterdam, you go underwater like that. That's kind of, I don't know whether, have we done that yet in Mario Kart? Like actually just sort of skating on water? Like, cause going underwater has been a thing in Mario Kart since Mario Kart 7, but like bringing the idea of like, well, no, you're just kind of on a, like, water feature almost. Like,
I guess I haven't been paying attention enough. I just thought like, oh, those pools or that canal must be just really shallow. But yeah, I guess I don't know. So you're racing, like, is the idea that you're racing so fast that you're just, like, skipping on the water then?
Yeah, I wasn't sure. What the idea was there. Yeah, like you said, I guess it's probably mostly just like, well, no, it's shallow enough that we don't go into, submersible mode or whatever.
And it's confusing enough that when you do go eventually race underwater in one of those, I think it's Bangkok Rush, like eventually, like in one of those, like, second laps that's not like the first lap, it deviates, changes your route, and then you do go underwater, and it's confusing as hell because you're like, oh shit, where do I turn? Oh no, okay, I just go straight. I'm meant to go in the water.
Yeah, this is this is the way it's meant to be. Yeah. I mean, they have those arrows and stuff to try and help you with the fact that the track changes.
I just kept getting like blooper ink on my screen, and very annoying when you don't know the track at all.
No, yeah, like when you go in fast as well, like super fast to 200cc as well, it's just like, I mean, it can get, like you said, they have those bits where it narrows down quite a lot in the tour tracks, as you already alluded to with the urban planning element of it. Like, those are really perilous when you're trying to go that fast. It is just like, just always need to remember, like, okay, let's change the kart parts to something, that's correct. Because when you race online, 200cc barely ever comes up. So you have different kart parts for that. So don't just go ahead with those. Get ones with better handling, better acceleration, because you are actually going to have to brake like mad and then speed back up again. And with the tour tracks, I think it's even more true that it's just like, there's these narrow little bits and everything's happening really, really fast. It's just completely crazy. And and some of them I've only played once. So there's going to be, some more learning to be done. So I've so far I've managed to get the 3 stars. We win every race, and then you get the 3-star kind of badge for completing the cup like that. But it's so easy for everything to go horribly, horribly wrong in 200cc for a reason other than just items have decided that it's not your day, which can still happen, obviously. But
yeah, absolutely. But yeah, that's basically all I've been playing. That's my new business. Although, my time is filled with Wind Waker, basically.
Yeah, I'm not. I'm gonna have to pick up the pace. I'm only like one dungeon down, but
we haven't set a date, so you don't technically have to pick
still,
up the
though,
pace.
If I kept on this pace, it'd have to be like after Tears of the Kingdom.
It has to be in March. I'm not there in April, so.
Okay, all right. Well, we'll figure it out then. But I'm not committing to figuring it out today because I haven't even started yet. So. Now, granted, I've played that game so many times that like I don't need to play the whole game front to back. I think I beat it once in about I think I pretty much started it and ended it on the same day once. I was homesick, so I just sat there with the fever of like 103 Fahrenheit and just kept popping Tylenol to keep my fever from bubbling over and played that game for like I don't know, the whole day.
So already, like I'm 2 dungeons in. Already, I've had to swear to Karen that I would not keep saying like "thank you." I'm done with that. So,
well, the good news is that you're not committed to doing a 100% collection run of Star Fox Adventures Dinosaur Planet like the Nintendo World Report Twitch crew is currently doing. Twitch.tv/Nintendo World Report. If you've never played that game,
is that like colon all the Baphomet or whatever?
Yeah, basically. Which is a terrible, like dumbest idea any human being has ever had ever. Like we're talking jumping off a building without a parachute, going, it'll be fine. So at least in that one, you don't have to deal with the no, that's too much. that Rare felt was appropriate to put in their video game.
I
was wondering where you were going with that, but
yeah. The shop ghost in that game, because it is a ghost, is one of the worst Rare voices of all time, and that's a high bar.
If dinosaurs are real, I feel like ghosts probably are too.
Thanks, you flat earther. What were you saying, Greg?
I still have not played through Star Fox Adventure, so I've not actually sort of, when you think about it, when I think about it, having played, Banjo 1 and 2, I played DK64 even years later, but I did play it. Like, when I really think about it, it's like, I don't know, giving them the power of voice acting probably isn't a good idea. So
no, it wasn't, it turns out.
But, I probably should watch that stream or, other playthroughs just to get a feel for how much they abuse it. I've seen, other people I knew had a copy. I saw some of the early game, but that's as far as I had a little taste of it at roundabout when it came out, but not much.
I remember when that game came out, I rented it, and I got as far as, at some point, like, you get a ball that you can throw to Prince Tricky.
Yeah, his name is Prince Tricky.
And I think the game at some point says, if you keep doing this, you'll get a surprise. And so I kept throwing the ball at him, and like for way too long. Eventually I realized, like, oh, when he keeps changing color, that's the surprise.
Yes.
That's what I get.
Yeah.
I was expecting like a piece of heart, like something.
Welcome to this fucking game.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's bad. And Prince Tricky's voice makes you want to punt him into the sun. So, I would say it's just swings and roundabouts, but to make this rare appropriate. But there's none of the good parts. Star
Fox does have a starship, so
he does.
I think it's feasible.
You get to use it for about 7 minutes.
Right. I'm just saying, if you want to send Prince Tricky into the sun, you've got the means to do so.
It could be like the very end of Jet Force Gemini, where you fly Floyd into the heart of the thing to blow it up. But you're just flying Prince Tricky into the sun. It's also kind of like the end of the Phoenix Saga in X-Men. It's just we can't risk it falling in the wrong hands. We're gonna have to fly him into the sun.
Oh God. All right, so I'll talk about what I've been up to. And I'll start with the anti-grav in Mario Kart, because today was the Mario movie final trailer direct.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which prominently featured Mario Kart content, which I'm really surprised they're not saving for the sequel. But I
guess you can't hold back too much. They do. Mario Kart is such a ridiculous commercial juggernaut. You probably feel like you got to fire that gun now.
See, I'm guessing now where the hype's at, they probably wish they had held it off, because now I feel like a sequel's almost inevitable.
I'm just hoping that it looks all cheerful and stuff in the trailers, but when you get to it, it's basically the Harvey Dent chase sequence from The Dark Knight.
There we go.
Bowser's going to be driving something that says "slaughter is the best medicine" on the side of it, although that joke doesn't really work phonetically.
Yeah, no, but you've got a good point, James, because now, okay, they've used that Mario Kart, in the sequel, they're going to be playing tennis, golf. It's going to be
right,
oh
yeah,
shit.
What's the, because this movie is really all about what visuals can I put in the trailer, and that would have been a freebie in a sequel. But for this one, you don't need to spend that credit, because you just get the credit of what did they make Mario, Bowser, Peach, etc. look like in this game or in this movie? How did they make them sound? You get all the surprise credit just from the core conceit of we're making a Mario movie. You didn't need to fire the Mario gun, the Mario Kart gun yet. You could have sat on that, or the DK gun. That was the other thing I thought they were going to say for the sequel was DK. And no, DK is prominently featured in this fucking movie. We got to see Fire Flower DK in this trailer, which would not have gone well. DK with fire powers would have just caused everyone to get burned, and not deliberately, just everything's on fire. But yeah, so we got that trailer, but I was actually mentioning it because I was kind of surprised by how very Mario Kart 8 it is. The cart that they show, the anti-grav cart of clinging to a wall, is literally just the generic cart from Mario Kart 8. It's really, really on the nose. So they're already there. So if you don't get it from your Mario Kart Tour tracks, you will get it from the movie, which comes out in
a month, right? Yeah, pretty much.
It got moved up
a little less, yeah, because the move up makes different. A bit different in different territories, but yeah, it's roughly that.
the highlight of the direct wasn't the stars on screen, none of which seemed like they really wanted to be there, or the fact that Peach's voice actress was wearing a dress made out of coats.
I was disappointed that because they chose to have Anya Taylor-Joy and Jack Black kind of together, separate from everybody else. That they just didn't do a very bespoke Anya Taylor-Joy movie reference and have Jack Black say, "Wouldst thou like to live deliciously?" to her. But I'm frequently disappointed because I have unrealistic expectations. Is the real punchline.
No, I think that was fair.
All the kids would have gotten it.
Oh yeah. All the hipsters. Yeah,
Sorry, John just texted me. Okay.
He just heard about youngsters and just had to text him straight. They're talking about Easer burning.
Well, now we can't edit this part of the conversation out. The part of the whole direct is only like 5 minutes. That really got my well, there's two. There's one where they really, in exacting and unnecessary detail, explored the origins of Mario Day, as if Mar 10 wasn't obvious.
No, I think we've all come to the part in our lives where we have to realise that nothing is self-explanatory.
But they said what it was, then they showed it on screen, and then Miyamoto's, well, I think it was Trenin, but Miyamoto goes, do you see it? It looks like Mario. It's like, no shit, I'm aware. But it was the highlight for me was, and after the trailer, after they did their last rounds with the stars, they got back to Mr. Miyamoto, and he goes, "We have and one special thing for viewers in the United States," which is like, oh, what are they going to do for the U.S. viewers? "We've recreated Mario's boots from the movie, and they'll be on display at the Nintendo store in New York City." So for everybody in the United States,
he's very inclusive.
Yes, a very small geographic area. In one place in the country, they have created a pair of non-human scale boots. Go see them. Book your flights now. It's like, did anybody listen to that?
This is sort of reminding me of that email we got which suggested, like, what Kirby's feet would look like if they were regular feet that actually filled shoes that size.
Right. And I just refuse to use that email because I'm not going to encourage that behavior.
Oh, it's a visual email, so I mean, it was the deck was stacked against it with whatever we did immediately.
Right. But like, it was such an insane phrase.
That is peculiar. That's not something I would have imagined, for all the kind of publicity things one could do.
And it was just a shot of these boots that are obviously not human wearable in a display case.
No, because again, I mean, you'd have to have some kind of feet, wouldn't you? Presumably to actually fill those things.
Fuck. Meanwhile, today, at the exact same time, Capcom was doing their stream where they showed a bunch of stuff.
I saw this as well.
I haven't watched all of it yet. I've watched a couple of the trailers.
Yeah, I don't think I was kind of doing other stuff, so I was a little bit in and out, but I think I got most of it. I mean, I think it was out there beforehand. It's like, don't go crazy. We're not going to announce anything new. It's just, we are, as the name would suggest, spotlighting the stuff that we've got that's coming in the next few months, basically. But it did include plans for a virtual theme park.
It did. It's Capcom Land, it's Nintendo Land, but worse.
Yeah, for the company's anniversary, the 40th, right? And it's like, so, yeah.
So, I missed that part because I was trying to do two things at once. And Seren messaged me saying, look, Capcom made a metaverse or something along those lines. And that phrase alone was enough to send a chill down my spine. Capcom, you fucking lunatics. We do have a release date for Ghost Trick. It's June 30th. Play Ghost Trick. Play fucking Ghost Trick.
Yeah, was there a little more detail on what they do with the music than they'd offered there before, in terms of that there are like the kind of rearranged versions and maybe some new music, but you can also just any time, seamlessly switch to the original soundtrack if that's what you prefer.
The original soundtrack is very good. So, play Ghost Trick.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that was kind of the Capcom stuff, but also Level 5 did a thing.
Yeah,
today.
I didn't see this. Yeah,
because fuck it, I don't know why today, but today's the day, I guess.
There was a lot, especially like you said, when you factor in the sort of proximity of the expansion pack updates with Mario Kart and Metroid Fusion, and this is kind of why. So I was originally thinking I'd talk about Doom Eternal, but all this stuff kind of shunted it out. Really,
this was the Level 5 Vision Showcase, 2023, and so they showed 5 or 6 trailers. Inazuma 11 Victory Road, which is coming to the West. Inazuma games have a spotty history of making their way out of Japan. This one is definitively coming. They basically committed that they're going to release all of their stuff worldwide. Like the peak of their powers before this renaissance was they were releasing internationally. They stood up a North American and European publishing house. They then almost immediately shut them down. But they did do it. They showed Fantasy Life Fantasy Life the girl who steals time. We got a trailer of that. It was fine. We got Megaton Musashi Wired, which they still want to be a thing. We got a Deca Police trailer. I still need to figure out what the fuck that game is. It still looks like an anime for 12-year-old boys. Not that I don't say that derisively.
No, obviously, they've done stuff in that vein, quite a few times down the years. So just
most of what they've done is
like Inazuma 11 is that, but just soccer themed, right?
Right. These are police with space guns. And then the important part I want to talk about is they showed a trailer for Professor Layton and the World of Steam. And I have either of you all watched this trailer?
I've seen a still thing from it, but I've not seen the trailer.
All right.
Yeah,
I'm going to
watched it.
Oh, okay. Well, then, Guillaume, let Greg try to answer this one. I'm going to give you a single thing, and you tell me what you think it is. Steam Bison America.
I've seen this reference. That's the name of the place, right? Is that the name of the city or something?
Right.
That's where Luke's living. Yes.
Is it close to Raccoon City, or?
I don't know.
Is this like alternate Buffalo? Is that what this is?
I don't know, but Steam Bison America is the best. And that's how they wrote it. No one in the United States, when you're mailing here, ever writes city, country. Ever. Why?
Because we have right?
Yeah. So Steam Bison belongs to all of them.
Right. Well, Herschel Layden is not from America, so
I mean, you do the same thing in UK postal addresses.
Yeah, it still seems like, also, he's a sort of man of the world, isn't he? Is he expected to do a sort of a fully when in Rome type protocol?
Steam Bison America. It's fucking unbelievable. What a phrase. I want to put in the trailer. It comes up on the screen. Steam Bison, America.
The sense that I get is that Steam Bison is clearly such the heart of America that if you had something that you needed to put on display for the entire country, like Mario's boots, you'd put it there, wouldn't you? You'd put it in Steam Bison.
So this is the alternate something in America versus the alternate London. But the premise here is that they hadn't officially said Luke was in this unless you had solved the puzzle on the Layton teaser website that they had put up. There was a little Picarat style clicking puzzle on there. The teaser was like that really, really zoomed out picture of the Steam world with Layton in it. It was just like a tiny little silhouette in the crowd. If you clicked him in the silhouette, you got this prompt that came up that was like you can download wallpapers because apparently it's a 1996 website.
That's the best kind.
And one of them had Luke in it. So, like, okay, Luke is in this game. But so the premise is Luke's gone to America. He's been there for a year. And in his time there, he's used his mystery solving experience to apparently just solve a shitload of mysteries and become super popular. I'm not even joking. That's the premise of this game.
Is it? You kind of feel like though that could be it could be bullshit. Like old Luke is
just
bullshit.
making it up.
Yeah, you know, I mean, like, or there's something behind it that's more,
maybe,
more
maybe
than it seems. You know what I mean?
Is Steam Bison America one big like playground to test Luke's skills? Is that what this is?
Yes. How do we know if it seems odd? Like, well, it's actually this entire city didn't exist until last week when it was hastily constructed for this charade.
Imagine everything Luke's gone through since he was like a 6-year-old. How does he trust anything?
Yeah, like, it's true, isn't it?
If he goes to a zoo and sees an animal that makes him slightly perplexed, he's immediately trying to rip its mask off.
I'm just imagining, somebody, the sort of line from, various things really, but, like The Matrix or Westworld or whatever, where someone very calmly sort of says, have you ever questioned the nature of your reality? And Luke's like, yeah. Just a bit, mate. You obviously don't know me very well. Fucking hell.
Every fucking day. Are you a steam-powered robot? I need to take your head off to be sure. He's apparently written a letter for Layton to come help him because this thing is beyond his capabilities. So, yeah, Layton is going to America, to Steam Bison America.
The real question is, if you wanted to do business there, do you have to have the proper reserves of the bison dollar?
Oh, I mean, absolutely. If you don't, like, why? How are you going to afford to ride your snail-shaped steam taxi, which is a real thing? That I don't understand. I don't understand. So the other thing we got to learn about the new world of Steam is that the questions are being developed by I had the name earlier, Quiznok, which you've never heard of. I'm just gonna tell you that right now, you haven't. But they've worked with Sega before. They've published a reasonably popular puzzle game on Apple. On iOS, but the big thing they have is their fucking puzzle idols.
Of course,
it's an idol group like AKB48, except they solve puzzles. It's a bunch of dudes in their I don't know. They look like they're in their late, like maybe 18 to 25, and they have a YouTube channel which is just them solving puzzles. I'm not even fucking kidding. And like the image they used in the trailer, literally they look like a bunch of idols. It's so weird. Japan is so weird. It is the strangest place producing the weirdest content. But they're making the puzzles for this game, which I'm glad because the people who made the puzzles for Catriel fucking sucked. I mean, this doesn't promise they'll be better, but at least it promises they'll be different. And I'll take that because the ones they had weren't good. And then the last thing, I'll just touch on it real quick because there's not that much to say about it. I have been back in the eShop and suffering. There's an editorial about that. You should go read it. But I grabbed a game that was on there that was cheap and it seemed like people kind of liked it. And I was a little bit, surprised by that. So I just was like, yeah, whatever. I'll make sure to get this is Salamander County Public Television. And this is a game where you play, quote, the professional thing doer for a local public access channel in Salamander County. And your job is to film stuff happening in the county for content. The problem is everybody in the county has disappeared. Everyone, all of them, 100% of the population, all gone. The entire game takes place in a fake Slack between your boss and his assistant and yourself. In fact, I'll just read the eShop description. Congrats on becoming the newest hire of the Salamander County's public TV station, SCP-TV. Unfortunately, everyone in the county suddenly disappeared except for your boss, and another employee. But the show must go on, so with your new title, it's up to you to film all the activities that need to be filmed for the TV station. You should probably also try to figure out where everyone disappeared in the first place, too. Features 25 different minigames, bronze, silver, gold medal targets for each minigame. Pretty much everything's a stock photo, a funny story involving a mouse with really big legs, and lots of really dumb videos. And all of that is true. Everything in this game is made of stock photos, which is really funny. All of the minigames are bad, but in this like weirdly bemusing way, where it's like control a dog's giant tongue to get a ball out of a box of packing peanuts, or inflate balloon animals to the right size before they pop, and like it's like try to get them as close to the exact size ordered as possible, or drive a car that's using mushrooms as its wheels. And all of this just comes from the banter in the Slack between your boss, who is desperately trying to find content that will generate ratings in a county with no people, and his assistant, who's consistently trying to tell him these are stupid ideas. And then you get stuck with the minigame that's tangentially related. That's usually not very good, but it's kind of funny to play twice. And then you move on to the next round of this stuff. It's basically a calendar's worth of stuff as you try to figure out where everyone in the county went, and also have a mouse with giant legs you talk to. And at one point you try to get a hamburger for doing a puzzle. It doesn't make any sense. But the game also contains, is the interstitial between every day. It introduces a new video that plays on this TV that's like content from the show. And it's got like really powerful Tim and Eric energy. Just these really surreal videos that are supposed to be content from the show. Like a guy who submitted, because it's public access, so you submit your own content. Like a guy who rated the top 10 chicken nuggets in this box, and it's him in this grainy film taking them out and comparing them shape and texture wise to it's the same box. And it goes on for like a minute and a half while there's a ticker at the bottom of the screen displaying it's such a weird product. But I bought it for like $6 and I got about $8 of fun out of it. So there you go. That's what I recommend. If you want something that's really silly, like Tim and Eric inspired nonsense, but maybe also a little bit more weird, yeah, go for it. The mini games aren't that good, but they're funny, so I'll take it to a certain degree. Like, everything feels janky, but deliberately so, if that makes sense. It's like fun jank. So, yeah, that's what I've been up to this week. And on that, I think we're going to wrap up new business, and when we come back, we are going to do a little bit of listener mail. So please stay tuned. We return to your ear holes to talk to you about listener mail. John will not be joining us today. We have received proof of life, so that's good. But he's not going to be able to make it. We understand. Emails. I want you to send us emails. You can send us your emails. We love your emails. Send us email to rfn@nintendoworldreport.com. I would have asked one of you all, but apparently I would be accused of having ulterior motives or some shit. I can't win. I can't win here. That's rfn@nintendoworldreport.com. Send us your questions, your comments, your thoughts, your observations, your highfalutin concepts that you think we would be impressed by. I don't care. Put it in the inbox. A third of you are sending us junk anyway. You might as well. Just commit. Send us your stuff. And first email. Greg, would you please read it?
Sure. MASB writes, "Hello, RFN Blade Runners." Is that a reference to the thing that you're going to be supposed to be getting me to react to?
Well, that's my assumption.
I don't know. I guess, yeah.
Never mind, anyway. Having watched the latest The Super Mario Bros. Movie Direct,
which we just talked about,
the most important news was that Mario's quote-unquote iconic boots will be on display at the Nintendo New York store. Mm-hmm. As Seren and countless others have pointed out, of all the things associated with Mario, his hat, not his boots, would first spring to mind as being most iconic. I would also say his moustache, but that would be pretty painful for Mario to have that on display by itself. Let's take in other Nintendo or even non-Nintendo characters. What iconic item would you put on display in Nintendo New York to represent that character? For Chibi Robo, a plain wall outlet, or one of Snack's finest may be in order. For non-Tendo, where would Master Chief be without his cat helmet? And where would Twilight Princess's Agatha be without her golden bugs? The city that never sleeps eagerly awaits your exhibit ideas. See you in space, losers.
Again, no, without the context, which we're not going to give because John's not here. It doesn't do us any good. But doesn't Agatha also talk about like wanting to be covered in slime trails? I feel like a jar of her iconic slime would attract.
Well, I've got Agatha. Is not only in Twilight Princess; she's in another Zelda game, which brings me to what I think is the definitive answer.
Hit me.
It's the scarf from Hyrule Warriors.
Oh boy, here we go.
Which might incite a riot, because it would be viewed as a sort of troll, So I thought, oh look, remember this that you can only get here? Well, it's on display. You can't have it now either, you lousy beggars.
That people lined up for and still didn't get.
Yep.
Okay.
So you want to talk about
available.
iconic? It is. Demonstrably, I think. And
I think you're right.
You want to talk coveted. Who's ever wanted to get their hands on Mario's boots? I don't think so. This thing is proven. People want it. The market has spoken, and as usual, it's drunk.
Is unmet.
I feel like MASB kind of missed the mark on his own email because. I find that the suggestions for Nintendo Master Chief and his cat helmet, that's the problem is that it is too iconic, right? Like the Mario, we get his boots, not his hat. So I feel like any character that we're going to mention, like we should be choosing the most unimpressive, iconic,
the B or C tier one for that character.
See, I wonder though, like maybe it's not about just being like an iconographic stand-in, like the hat. Like if I show you Mario's hat, you think Mario immediately. Like even if you recognize Mario's boots, it's not that immediate like neuron fire.
I've got one for Metroid. It's Adam's hat that you have to rescue before the ship gets blown up at the end of Other M. That you want to talk about iconic? It's a big hat.
It's a very big hat, and as many states, even to this day, still seem to believe the larger the hat, the more important you are.
Cheap, they're about to nuke that ship that the Hall of Other M takes get, and she's like, I've got to go back in there immediately before it's going to get nuked, just to save the hat. So again, coveted.
It's a very big hat. Like it would be very expensive to replace.
So I was also going to go with Metroid and Samus, but like instead of having like the helmet or like the arm cannon or something like that, why not just like one of the shoulder pads? I think it's
like one
just
of her
iconic.
Yeah. Like
if it's iconic enough, but you're going to be at first you see that you're like, what the hell? And then you realize, oh yeah, right, yeah.
It's like, is that Samus in Morph Ball? No, it's not. No? It's actually just a variant suit. It's massive.
It's not about the answers that the icon puts in front of you. It's about the questions it creates in your mind. I like where you're at. Like this is marketing 101 here. We're really tapping into a new transcontinental interest. Like people don't really travel to New York for any reason right now. Mm-hmm. So, there's not much to do there. It's kind of a boring and empty place. We're trying to create something that will draw like spectators and the interested parties from Wyoming, Texas, Florida. We need people from all over to come to see something, and they're not going to come for answers. Do you think people would just line up at Stonehenge if they just wrote what it was on there? No, it's the mystery that draws people in.
And that's one of the problems, I guess with the shoulder pad, because I think in one of the manuals, at least, they do explain that it's some sort of cooling system.
Yeah, well, you get it like when I mean, it's in Metroid 2. I forget.
Yeah.
Are there hot places in Metroid 2, or is it just acid? I forget.
It's hard to tell because the thing is monochrome, and I was playing the Game Boy Color palette. I was playing the NSO version, and the stuff was blue, which lulled me into a false sense of safety, and I stepped in it, and I was like, okay, oh shit, no, it
But
burns.
at least, like, in Super Metroid and all that, it's like, well, once you get the shoulders is when you could go in the hot place, and so it makes it, these big, that someone somewhere would think, well, perhaps they some great cooling units, in there that allow them
just
to
two
survive.
window units.
Yeah,
but yeah, I forget exactly how it goes in Metroid 2, but yeah, generally the Varia suit is for hot places. But
it's just like the Varia thing, isn't that like some sort of corruption of barrier? Like that's actually what the Japanese means is barrier, but it became Varia. I always thought it was like highly variable temperatures or something, but no, it was just like it was just another one of those hue draw things. Kid Icarus, Hydra became hue draw.
V is a very stupid letter when you try to translate it into Japanese, and does lots of unpredictable things, so that would make sense. See, I like this though. See, we're creating mystery. We're
trying to get intrigue, I believe.
Right.
Kind of.
People don't go to Roswell because they know what's going on. They go there because they're stupid. And we're trying to attract stupid people. So we need to come up with something that's going to make stupid people. And boots. Boots immediately, you're like, there's no color to them. There's no mystery. They're boots. But what if they were like Link's metal boots? The ones that you can stand underwater.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean,
see, now
no one can nick off with them if they stage the daring heist, can they?
Wasn't that like one of the attractions at the Nintendo World park? Like you can just strap on metal boots and go in the pool?
Yeah, it's called the drowning attraction.
It was adapted from the Face Off theme park.
There are many waivers you must sign. But so like the idea here is Disney World used to have an attraction, like an event where they did the Sword in the Stone. And like there was just a trip switch somebody hit that let it come out, and that kid would be like king of the day or whatever. It's a thing.
Does that mean he gets put in the Wicker Man?
No, unfortunately. What if the boots? The boots are in the image. We saw the boots behind a display case, which is the stupidest thing in the world. What if instead they're the iron boots from Zelda? No explanation. And they're just there on the street corner. Like they're not even inside the store. But they weigh 1,300 pounds. And so it's really just a challenge of people to try to steal them. Can you find a way to steal Link's iconic metal boots? I bet you can't. And if somebody can, well then congratulations, they win. They can sell them on eBay. But people are going to be coming from all over the country to try to steal those boots. And if you have to make them out of depleted uranium so they weigh so much no one can move them, then that just adds to the mystery. Why am I glowing in the dark after trying to steal these boots? Who can say?
Turns out only two people can move them. Chris Hemsworth and a little bit Chris Evans.
There you go. See? Problem solved.
Yep.
Like, if as long as we know where they're filming content, we don't have to worry about it. People are going to, because they can say like, hey, if you can move the boots, you can have the boots. You just have to put up a barrier so they can't get like a lift or some kind of hydraulic equipment involved. Like it's got to be a person. And 24 hours a day, you can just have a webcam pointed at it. People come and try to steal those boots. They're not going to be able to steal those boots. Those boots ain't going nowhere. They weigh 3 tons. Like you've taken an iconic element, but not a core element to Link's design, because normally he just has regular ass boots. Now you've made it a challenge. You've made it an event. People are going to want to be there. They're going to want to steal there, and they're going to fail. and you're going to get it on video. You can put that into all kinds of social media content. You can have a Twitch stream that's just people going to the Nintendo World Store trying to steal those fucking boots.
So obviously, all the effort is going into that for this exhibition or whatever it is. So I'm guessing they have to make do with the rest of the items for other franchises for
Toad's
this exhibition.
Iconic face. We peeled it off of him.
I was thinking more like, well, here's a wrench. Andy from Advance Wars. Well, that's his wrench. Yeah, sure. Yeah, let's go with that.
They just went down to Harbor Freight and bought one.
Yeah, it's just various household items, and then it's but this is Andy's wrench.
This is Cooking Mama's exotic cup. It's just a glass. Shut up. I'm trying to think what would just like a rubber tire. It'd be like, oh no, it's from the Mario Kart cart. This is tire from Mario Kart. What franchise have we not like really? Oh, Fire Emblem. We haven't done anything with Fire Emblem yet. Honestly, it's a piece of armor that only covers most of a woman's chest and nothing else. Just be like, what character is it? Yes. I mean, it could be. There's some bad options here too that I'm afraid of.
What I'm about to say doesn't make any sense, but that's just for whatever reason my brain came up with this. Like how at the aquarium you can just like reach and touch the whatever, certain things like
like a touch tank,
starfish. Yeah. So what if like there was a box and you could reach into like you could touch Ike's face or Marth's face or whatever it is, just like you do in your favorite Fire Emblems.
Yeah, see, you were thinking of that as an aquarium sort of analog. I'm thinking of it more of a sort of Dune analog. Putting your hand in that box.
You can't take that hand out. Yeah, right.
Oh boy, I'm leaning toward the world's weirdest glory hole, but okay, you do you.
That's also where I was going, but
like, is that going to get me? Is that the line too far for naming the episode "The World's Weirdest Glory Hole"? Is that the point where Neil sends us an email? Is that the one?
Only one way to find out.
So how cowardly was James? Find out when this episode goes live. Because I've already got the TSI in my head.
Oh God.
No, it's just somebody reaching through a hole, touching another face. It's fine. Everything's fine. It's just I know my limits.
Yeah,
mostly.
Just touching faces like people normally do every week.
I mean, we just need to wait until we have the Fire Emblem Hotel at the Nintendo Land, where somebody comes into your hotel and stares at you and then wakes you up after a few minutes. I'm telling you guys, this Engage is creepier in every way than face touching. At this point, really, it would just be Fire Emblem's iconic Marth. It's just a guy in a Marth costume sitting there because he shows up all the goddamn time.
In the spirit of just adapting like items that's just like some fairly ordinary just rings, surely at this point. Like, no, that's
them.
That's them for sure. Definitely.
Look,
that's Waluigi's golf tee. It's not any old golf tee.
Mm-hmm. It smells of garlic and shredded cheese. It must be
Wario's tennis sweatband.
Yeah, for Wario, I was thinking like maybe they get an actual garlic bulb and they draw those eyes on it, just like they have in Wario Land.
Garlic.
Yeah, why not? We have to. Yeah, let's go through like the main ones. Link, I was thinking maybe like a pair of beige/flesh colored tights, because of those illustrations from the first Nintendo game, where it looks like does he have like the shortest skirt or
Link's iconic bottle of pink hair dye that he used.
Yeah, I was going to say pink wig,
for Link
but
also yes,
yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
The problem is that I actually really like passive aggressive. I just can't deal with this shit Link of Breath of the But the problem is he doesn't really have anything iconic in that game by design.
Well, outside of his underwear, I guess.
The biggest testament to the degree to which he just can't be fucking bothered is Zelda's diary, where she basically just writes he can't be bothered. And I finally asked him why, and his response was, "Do you know what it's like being the hero all the time? It sucks." It's
and
like,
his response
I like this
was,
Link.
that is all he's capable of saying. So.
Oh, I prefer this Link. I'm just very put out by all this shit, Link. I mean, it could just be like a handful of beans that Link paid way too much money for. All right, so let's say you want to do Zelda then. I mean, the Triforce would be easy, but not interesting.
Yeah, that's way too. Yeah, so if you could top the Hyrule Warrior scarf, I'd be impressed.
I don't think we can, but like, I want to do one for Zelda herself.
Right, that's true. Yeah, so.
I can't think of anything.
No, she's too boring.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like maybe, yeah, it'd have to be like one of the more interesting incarnations, like something of Tetris.
Iconic. Please shut the fuck up. Worst boss. Tetra's worst boss ever. Mug. All right, so we did Mario. What's Luigi's iconic item? Besides
it's probably just the plunger, isn't it? I mean, again, there's just like, this is a household item energy that we dress it up. But not only is it, the plumber illusion, but you do have the whole thing in Luigi's Mansion 3 where you sort of fire a plunger out to disarm certain things. So it's just like, that's it. That's not just any plunger. That's the iconic one. So
I was thinking his iconic passive-aggressive diary about being left behind that shows up in all the Paper Mario games.
Yeah. Initially, I was thinking maybe like it could be his boots that are on display, and like Nintendo tries to pass it off as like Mario's iconic boots, but like they're really pulling one over us.
Yeah,
like, we couldn't find Mario's boots.
Probably isn't it? Like the actual Mario ones are in a safe, somewhere. They're in some sort of like military grade security facility. But yeah, they've just got Luigi's ones out. So if anybody does make off with them, because they're not really ridiculously heavy like Link's iron boots, then they've still got the originals.
There we go. What franchise have we not done?
I was thinking of what we could pick from Donkey Kong that's not his tie, and unfortunately, that ape is naked, so I can't really think of anything.
It's just a barrel on fire.
There's just a huge amount of bananas, isn't it? And it's like, look, it's the iconic huge amount of bananas. Remember all the trouble you went to get these back in DKC?
Right, or maybe it's like his missing banana hoard, and you go there.
It's
like,
just an empty display.
Yeah, it's just empty, and like, we told you, it's empty, it's missing.
It's the iconic lack of things.
It could be like one of those art exhibitions where you can mess with the art, like basically, like, please leave your bananas here. And then, or you can take, you can take one, you can leave one, and
take a banana, leave a banana.
Exactly.
Well, bananas really the kind of food you want to hoard because they definitely last they famously last an extremely short period of time.
Mm-hmm.
DK, your retirement account is badly leveraged. What if, see, I like the idea of it's just an oil drum on fire. It's like the Eternal Flame, but way more dangerous and significantly more open. And also emitting very dangerous fumes.
Oh, I've got it, by the way. I've got it.
What is it?
The series we've not talked about enough because, Nintendo haven't recognised it enough. But if they want to start rectifying that right now, Mr. EAD's Codpiece.
Oh, God. Jesus.
Because people won't even know what it is. They'll think it's a Mario reference. And then when they do know what it is, they feel,
when they do know, they wish they didn't.
So I'm looking at pictures of Mr. E80, as I usually do. Does he actually have a cut piece, or is that just like underwear?
That's his bulge.
It's a question frightening to contemplate.
He is a genetically created cyborg, so why wouldn't you go all out? You're making the perfect specimen.
But yeah,
I'm just saying, Mr. E80 is slinging. Okay, that's it.
All right.
That's not going to be a TSI, by the way.
He's got the Starman on a belt. But yeah, I keep misremembering, I think. Like, is the Starman on his junk? But no.
No, it's on his belt.
Yeah.
See, I think we were talking about, like, I just want to go, like, make a run to Target and buy a bunch of crap and call it a tourist exhibit. I think we've really missed out on Animal Crossing. Like, the prospect of blank's iconic blank is really just a Target shopping trip away.
We're back to fruit again. Oh, I know, but I mean, this is...
I bought some grapes.
The iconic peaches that only grow on certain islands.
It's like, this is, you could go to, like, the secondhand store and buy an old sewing machine. Oh, no, this is Mabel and Sable's iconic sewing machine. There's so many opportunities to just be cheap and mysterious. Oh, it's all there waiting for you. This behind my iconic bug net. I want to make so much money for the Nintendo store. We're gonna make them just bank. There's gonna be a line of idiots down the street. I mean, tourists down the street.
I've just got this idea. If you know the episode of The Simpsons where the Bart, Milhouse, Martin, and Nelson are going to the World's Fair or whatever,
yes.
but they're going to the NYC Nintendo store to see all this tat, just
all these wigs.
And it's total rubbish.
For Animal Crossing, you know, like you could just like basically I'm picturing like that GIF of oh my god, why would I blank on her name? Only one of the biggest talk show hosts, Oprah. You know, Oprah like bees, you know, just releasing bees on our audience. So basically,
and everybody's freaking out. Like, it's their normal like celebration of when she announces
the iconic
stuff,
scorpion from Animal Crossing.
Right.
Or tarantulas, they chase you around as well.
Yeah, bloody tarantulas.
Just all sorts of...
It's an early thing with, you were talking about the bloody zeitgeist of early Animal Crossing on Switch, like Tarantula Islands were quite prominent in that, so yeah,
Oh, see, there you go. So you walk into this door for the Animal Crossing exhibit, and suddenly they just drop a box of about 1,000 tarantulas on you.
Yeah, it's, you know, I mean, people thought one was hysterical in Home Alone, so I mean, they'll be rolling all down the street with laughter if you do that.
The best part is, as you leave screaming covered in tarantulas, the next person just walks in like nothing is wrong.
And I mean, that happens presumably the first Home Alone, and the second one's set in New York, so if you just sort of smush them together, you're pretty much there.
That's true. And like, because look, if you see somebody come running out of a booth you've been waiting 3 to 4 hours to enter, screaming covered in tarantulas, your first thought is, well, certainly they don't have enough tarantulas to also cover me, right?
You think you're safe, yeah.
They must have exhausted the tarantula supply on that guy. But no, there are thousands of tarantulas in this box, and we will continue to dump them.
At least you're seeing someone come out of that booth, you know? So it's not like, oh, they cleaned the place, they got rid of the body, and now I can enter. So it's a little bit reassuring in a way.
Are you thinking of the suicide booth from Futurama? No, it's not quite there yet.
Right.
Tarantulas won't kill you. They'll just...
I don't know. If you're in an Italian horror movie, they can kill you, but...
Well, if you're in an Italian horror movie, a slightly muscular man described as like the Zeus of his time in spandex can kill you too. What's your point? Do watch Italian horror films. Don't watch them around children or anyone who has any sense of morality left, because they're all basically just the way of the director getting whatever his sex thing is out. So, all right. So we have box of tarantulas. We have a plunger. We have a wrench. We have some beans and some boots nobody can move.
Mm-hmm.
I think we've really like created Nintendo Land North at this point. I think like Nintendo Land itself can fuck right off. This is the true Nintendo Land at this point. So now that we've got all the marks coming up to New York to come see this, and they're all the way down the street, the Nintendo Land or the Nintendo store in New York. It's got about let's say it's a 1/4 mile long line. How do we get experience? Oh, we charge those people for water while they're waiting in line. That's it. All right. So now I've got my cut, and we've made the iconic boots seem more iconic by proximity to our excellent ideas. That is. Mm-hmm. What if like the prize for the tarantula booth is sometimes it's not tarantulas, but that's super rare. In those cases, it is scorpions. That person is that person is going to die. They are covered in scorpions, but everybody else will be fine, mostly. 1 out of 1,000? 1 out of 1,000 is good, right? Like,
that's too harsh. Even Wolverine shit it at the idea of being covered in scorpions in the X-Men animated show.
All right. 1 out of 5,000. You drive a hard bargain, but we are covering somebody in scorpions. This is my line in the contract.
So basically, it was like you sucker all these people in with the promise of the Nintendo treasure trove, and it turns into fucking Takeshi's Castle, isn't it? That's all it is.
It's a little bit of that, a little bit of Saw, yes.
Yeah. I personally feel like Saw is just a shameless Takeshi's Castle rip-off. Indistinguishable in any other way, except Takeshi's Castle's more enjoyable.
Tom Nook's iconic tarantula shower. It's fine. Jesus. Do we need to move on?
Yeah, I'm ready to move on.
Okay, let's move on. All right, Guillaume, would you read the second email?
Sure.
Actually, I want to make one comment real quick.
Okay.
The sign off that MASB gave us is the city that never sleeps eagerly awaits your exhibit. Well, they won't sleep anymore after we're done.
That's it. Traumatized.
Can't sleep. Tarantulas will eat me. Okay, sorry. Go for
I gotta run. Oh no, my feet are encased in metal boots.
Yeah. Probably at the bottom of the Hudson.
Ryan writes, "Hey guys, I just saw the trailer for the Tetris movie on Apple TV Plus, and it's pretty crazy to see familiar Nintendo employees being portrayed in a major film. You guys should do a riff track or something after the movie comes out. I'd love to hear your opinions."
So I finally watched this trailer in response to this movie. I mean, if we were still doing the Patreon episodes, maybe, but like,
riff tracks, don't those aren't those actual work?
Yeah. So there are writers who watch those movies over and over and over and over and write jokes, and then the hosts just recite the jokes. Like, now to be clear, they also are engaged in the writing process. It's not like they're not involved at all, but there's no improv in that, or very limited. They might, they'll riff sometimes, pun not intended. But I mean, there is a script they are following.
Yeah. So basically, what I'm saying is, pay us.
Yeah.
And,
well,
maybe.
Yes. I'm always saying pay us, but that's a different issue. I just kind of wanted to use this opportunity to talk about the movie. Like, the trailer looks really insanely over dramatized, which you'd expect. Like, I don't think Hank Rogers ever actually got shot at, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he did.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the story of how he brought like the Black Onyx to SG-1000 or whatever in Japan, like being reinterpreted to some sort of like the original Mission Impossible, where he's got to like go down and to like get that thing without a bead of sweat dropping onto the pressure-sensitive floor. Like, that's what I'm imagining.
Just Hank Rogers suspended from the ceiling.
Are We're going to get screamed at by Mission Impossible fans for you calling the first Tom Cruise movie the original.
Oh, that's true, yeah. It's kind of overwritten. There were like multiple TV series before that, right? They did like a revival in the 80s or something. But yes, they've been so many of the Tom Cruise movies at this point that it's like that's all there ever has been, right?
Yeah. I mean, what are we up to, like 10?
I don't think it's quite there,
7
but it's a
or 8?
lot, yeah.
Yeah.
A shocking over like 20 something years too. That's the part that's really
that first one was like 95, 96, something like that.
It had an N64 game. So
yeah,
yes.
But I think the N64 game was like quite a bit later.
It was quite a bit later,
golden eye kind of way. It was.
But which is funny because it's not like those at all.
Right. It's garbage.
And also, they didn't have Tom Cruise likeness rights are the most expensive likeness rights, so they didn't have those for the N64 game.
I wouldn't say it's garbage. It's more of a spying game than 007 GoldenEye, which is just like a how many Russians can you kill game.
Yeah, there's definitely parts of GoldenEye where, stealth is important, especially if you play at higher difficulties, but yeah, especially if you play on the agent, and it's just like, they keep on coming, but I can keep killing them. They're just not doing enough damage for this to not be sustainable.
They keep bringing me more ammunition to kill them. It's very confusing.
Precisely, yes, exactly.
If they just came without guns, eventually they would overpower me. Eventually, they would punch me to death. Whereas in the Mission Impossible game, which I've played all the way to completion, actually, if you aren't sneaky, you will fail. I lost the plot there for a second. I think it's kind of funny that this movie is coming out in a way because this is a story, like the story of intrigue, I guess is the right word, that was involved in Nintendo securing the rights for Tetris for Game Boy, which is super pivotal to the success of that platform. Like, it was bundled with the system. It was the killer app for a long time. Like, maybe not until Pokemon came out, but it was the defining game of that system before Pokemon, certainly. It made it viable. Mm-hmm. Because Tetris was huge. I mean, it was fucking enormous.
It's the perfect game.
It's the perfect game. Yeah, that trailer is kind of bad in like a really funny way. There's definitely things that if we all watch the movie would end up as memes on this show, like dumb shit that we say to each other to crack each other up. But it's weird seeing a movie where, like, you won't believe the story of, and I'm like, people don't know this? And that's when I realized that we live in a bubble.
Yeah, because, this is like, I don't know, not necessarily even you would have to read it directly, but, like, it was sort of covered in Game Over by David Sheff, right? So it's kind of, and that was, when was that published?
Oh, in the 90s?
Mid-90s somewhere, like, so, yeah, it feels like quite a well-worn, well, a version of that, kind of, right. Sort of, a particular account of that, is kind of, feels like a very well-worn kind of subject at this point, but yeah, obviously it's, many people are not going to be aware that was a long time ago, it probably must be roughly, 30 years since that book was published and all that, so even that part of it is like very kind of retro in itself, and it is an intriguing kind of, it's always struck me as kind of an intriguing story of how something created in an environment that was not apt for it becoming a global smash. How does that happen, when the game is created behind the Iron Curtain, essentially. It was an intriguing story, so it doesn't surprise me that people have sort of come around to this at some point. Maybe in some ways, you might have thought it might have happened sooner, but maybe, in a different the thing is that, you get different kind of levels of things, like, there was like a BBC TV movie about the kind of competition with Clive Sinclair was in for like a public, computer contract. That kind of strayed into games quite a lot. I guess it could have been covered in something like that, but of course, because we're in the streaming kind of era where people are throwing money around to try and kind of, establish themselves in a particular market, like it feels like, this is probably getting more money thrown at it than normally, or certainly in the past anyway, like a subject matter like this would necessarily have got.
Yeah, and I mean, like, I guess the 80s are in at this point. The late 80s, the
kind of
early
90s. Late 80s, early 90s. It's been a generation removed kind of thing, so it's, time to circle around.
And I mean, like, the final countdown is all over that trailer.
Oh my god, it's please stop putting that in your fucking trailers.
That one has been, I know we make fun of trailers for like doing the sort of the formula of like, let's take a song and slow it down and change it and stuff, but
like make menacing the final. It's the final.
It's just countdown. So that thing is so overused. There's just no getting around it, is there? But that's the thing. I guess maybe it's overused for old fogies like us. So maybe it's not so bad for.
Here's the rule: you can use the final countdown in your movie trailer if your movie has a final countdown in it. If there is a bomb on a bus that's going to explode if you drop under a certain speed or a time expires, and those are the only scenarios you may use this song.
And they're terrible scenarios, so don't do it. Yeah, I don't know how I feel about this.
What the fuck are you talking about? They're great scenarios. Those are Oscar-winning scenarios. Like, unless it's that specific scenario, you are not allowed to use that song. Period. End of conversation. Can't use it. Just no more. No more. Done.
Or if you're Job in Arrested Development, I think that should be allowed to stay.
Job's not doing trailers, though. Job is performing. And that's the thing. Job's using that song because that song's overused. It's a joke. Like, they're making a joke about people using that song inappropriately and just overusing it. So, if you're using that in your trailer, you're a Job. Don't be a Job. Job's never done anything good in his life.
But you don't think that this movie knows what it is, and or do you think it's trying too hard to wink and nod at the audience, and like we know we're being silly?
Yeah, absolutely, yes.
Okay,
yeah,
like it went too far with the.
Yeah, but you're not. But here's the thing: they've already made the joke now. Like somebody's already made the joke, so now you're just biting on their joke, which is worse. So, like, yeah, if you use there's no, basically, unless you're making Speed 3, you're not allowed to use that song. And Keanu Reeves has got to be in it.
I've never seen Speed 2, so I can't properly evaluate what the...
No one has. You're fine.
I've seen it. It's bad.
All I can think of is that I can't even remember what the joke was in Family Guy, where Stewie goes, Jason Patrick, ugh. Because he replaced Keanu, essentially, and that Sandra Bullock came back. And Willem Dafoe was the villain, I believe, but I've not had the pleasure. It is meant to be terrible. When it's just like, well, Speed was, it wasn't that great. If it's that much worse, it can't be a particularly fine purveyor of the action film genre, I guess.
Yeah, it's like the stuff in Speed that's really funny is effectively missing from Speed 2. Speed 2 is just like we took Speed and we're just like, yeah, we're just gonna make it super speed.
We put it on a boat. We put it on a boat. What more do you need?
And it's like, no, but see, the thing about Speed that made it funny was how small the stakes were. It's like, we're going to shut down all of this fucking city for one bus. It's like, well, yeah, I mean, it would be a tragedy if people on that bus
It's a very
died.
pre-pandemic movie, isn't it? I think we all know now. Like, someone would just firebomb the fucking bus just to get the traffic moving. Like that.
Problem solved. And hey, the bomb would be disposed of. We wouldn't have to call in the bomb squad. We don't have a budget for the bomb squad. Are you fucking kidding me? Budget cuts, man. We got budget cuts. No, but a boat. I mean, we would never sacrifice the population of a cruise boat. Absolutely not. That would never happen. Never, ever, ever in this post-pandemic world have we ever said, no, well, everyone on that boat's probably going to die. It's unthinkable. Undoable. I don't know. I feel like this is going to be one of those things where, like, we watch it and we know the story and we're like, yeah, I don't think Hank Rogers ever had a shootout as he drove a Lada through Moscow trying to get away with the Tetris source code. I feel like this is probably over the top. But people who are watching it are going to be like, wow, boy, gaming in the fall of the Soviet Union was wild. It's like, yeah, well, this is the country where Alexei Pajitnov, he's the guy who made Tetris. What's his name? I can't remember what his name now is. He used to own the Nets. Allegedly made all his money selling denim.
Oh yeah.
He made billions of dollars
selling. There was a big
selling
pent-up demand for denim, you know. So,
yeah, it was definitely...
You could ride that all the way to owning a major American sports franchise.
Definitely just denim. That's it. Nothing else. Nothing else. Stop asking questions. Like, that's a much more interesting component of the story than, like, Nintendo racing someone to secure the contract rights before a competitor does. Like, that's really what the story is. It was, how fast can you get someone there to an offer that the Russians will accept? I should say Soviets, but the reality of the situation is pretty much all layers of the government were controlled by Russians at that point, so it doesn't really make a big difference. Like, that's not a good movie, though. How fast can we put someone on a plane? Not a great movie. Mm-hmm. So I think it'll be funny for us in the Speed kind of way, where it's like, this is ridiculous and stupid.
I don't know, because again, it can be a little bit risky taking trailers too much at face value, because sometimes they're quite like dishonest to the material. Sometimes, you know, it's like, well, you're trying to find an angle to sell this thing in a trailer, which, you know, the actual makers of the film, like, not even particularly, like, that's not how they would sell it. You know, so I won't make too many judgments ahead of time, but certainly, I mean, it's plausible what you're saying to my mind. But yeah, you just, yeah, I can think of a bunch of cases where, you know, like a movie is like pretty dishonestly sold. Sometimes, you know, genuinely kind of made it seem more interesting than it was. Other times, kind of made it seem less interesting, or just like more creatively bankrupt than it actually ended up being. I think one of the sort of examples I can think of is like The Usual Suspects, where the marketing was very much like, oh, you seen them Tarantino movies? Well, this is just like that. And it's like, it's not like that at all. And it was an enjoyable movie, but if you went into it wanting, you know, Pulp Fiction, you were going to be pretty fucking disappointed.
Yeah, but yeah, I don't know. Like, what is being sold to us seems to be very much like kind of sold on nostalgia, sold on like, oh, like, remember the Game Boy? He's losing his shit over seeing a Game Boy.
Quite, you know.
Right. But it looks entertaining enough. I will be using my free Apple TV Plus code to watch it.
All right, but Greg, you gave me a thought here, and I think the history of this is an interesting story. Maybe not the version they're telling. Maybe the version they're telling is silly. But what if it was just a legitimate, like, international contract negotiations? But it is a Quentin Tarantino film, as you suggest.
It's actually a very idiosyncratic dialogue. You know, there's a lot of the sort of, you know, they're getting into the nitty gritty of all the sort of contingencies in the contract, but then someone has to offer their opinion about Madonna or, you know, whatever.
We're going to get to see so many feet shots. It's going to be great.
Yeah, I suppose you got to cover that.
They'll be talking about contract riders and the camera just pans down for no reason. Why is this shot from floor level? Don't worry about it. I'm trying to think what would actually be something in gaming history that I would want, that I think is a wild
I'll tell you what I'm looking forward to. If there still are, if enough time passes, probably when you do have the kind of, we talk about this almost like generational thing where it's like, there's a perceived value in calling back to this particular window of time because it's quaint and nostalgic at that point. If they've still got at that time a generation removed from what I'm going to talk about, streaming services, whatever entities there are at that time, if there isn't just one corporation, presumably like OCP from RoboCop, providing us entertainment, they pick up the rights to Reggie's book. And we have the the sort of like sexed up version of the Reggie story where he just strides into E3 2004 and just like slaps someone in the face that was saying Nintendo sucks. And
all right. So who's playing Reggie? And I want you.
It'll be somebody doing, some young up and coming actor we don't know yet. Like I said, we gotta wait. We gotta wait if it's we gotta wait until like 2034 or something to get to a point where that's long enough ago that people kind of want to have this kind of romanticized take on his ugly rise to power.
So the movie, I want to say it's called no, it wasn't Boyhood.
Sorry, you were asking who would play. How about Sam Richardson?
No. See, here's the thing. When we get to, no, it is Boyhood. Yeah, when we get to, so Boyhood is this movie that was kind of famous because
they did it over so many years of that person's
like
life.
12 years. Yeah. So that way it was the same actors playing the character at different ages. It was the movie itself is like, okay, it's fine. Way more effort than that concept deserves. Let's put it that way. But I think what you need is a young actor to do that because you need to get young Reggie doing Bigfoot Pizza. But then when it's time for the E3 presentation, when he does My Body Is Ready for the dramatic film, he needs to do Chippendale style, grab the buttons of his shirt and just rip it open and just have absolutely rippling musculature, like completely on the gas, like wildly on the gas. So we need to have that body transformation in there too. So there's got to be some process. So we have young Reggie slinging big rectangular pizzas, and then we have not quite Silver Fox Reggie. He hasn't quite gotten there yet. Just absolutely shredded, big as you can gas someone up. I want him on horse steroids, dangerous steroids. I want roid rage incidents on the set every day. And then you can wind it back for some later ones as he gets older and he starts to mellow out. And when you get to the puppet version of him at one point, so you got to get there. He's lost a lot of that muscle mass. Maybe he's loosened up a little bit. You got to commit to the role, so he's going to have to increase his calories.
Imagine the set piece you could make out of him inventing Talking Heads, I Heart Blank on VH1 or whatever. I mean, that is,
there you go.
That's as exciting as any chase sequence you could ever mention in a forget William Friedkin, French Connection, whatever. This bit where it's people could talk shit about things that happened a long time ago. Whether they actually remember them or not is not the point. They just do it. And, that people will watch that. And then the sort of meta-textual element of people watching this dramatization of that, it will just cause some sort of collapse, some sort of singularity to occur, and that'll be the end of civilization.
Well, so, back in the 80s, before they had the ability to just create CG backgrounds behind you, and they wanted to have that, you're going through a hall of lights effect where they'd literally just have the person sitting in a chair in a darkened room with the neon light pattern behind them, and they would just pan the person and the camera through the space and then speed it up. I think we need to have that effect when that moment of revelation comes. Like, he's sitting at a desk. It's just a regular desk. You know, he's got an office behind him. Maybe it's like a boardroom where they're talking about how they're going to launch this VH1 product. And then practical effect, no special effects. The set pulls away on cables. Like, we don't see it. It's a soundstage. The set pulls away, and then behind him is this like long hallway, triangular shape, and it's just neon lights at a distance, you know, like triangles of neon lights all the way back. And suddenly he's pulled backwards as the idea flashes through his eyes. And then he shoots forward as it comes together, and then the set drops back into place, and they're, Reggie, you there? And he looks at him and goes, I've got the idea. And then you play the final countdown on top of it. And you've made the movie. It is 17 years in the making. Fuck you, Boyhood. This is the movie that deserves it. And you win all of the Oscars. All of them. And the movie ends with Reggie's death, but he's not dead yet in real life. So just because I'm taking, you know, literary license here.
I like the idea of some of the dramatic license you get to this sort of brick shithouse Reggie concept of like the moment where he pulled the Game Boy Micro out of his jacket pocket or whatever, but now it's like enormous to prove how strong he is.
All right, I've got it.
That's not how it happened at all. It was really small. That was the whole point.
It's called the Game Boy Micro.
All right. Now, here we go. So he pulls it out of his pocket. So our Reggie is a giant. He is a massive. As someone who has met him in person, he's really not that tall. He's pretty average height. It's just he's usually on stage with people who aren't very tall. But our Reggie is massive. We're talking 6 foot wide shoulders, huge. It looks like he's wearing, you know, armor plating, but he's not. That's just his body. And he pulls it out of his lapel pocket, and it looks so small. It looks like, remember the Game Gear micros?
Yeah.
Yep. In his hand, it looks like that. And then he reaches over and he hands it to someone because it is that size. But the person he's handing it to is not Reggie. They're so small. And in their hands, it's the size of an actual Game Gear.
Right. So basically, you're Lord of the Ringsing this.
Yeah, exactly.
Forced perspective. Yeah.
Yeah, but also using like just different props to do it, and that's because we need to make sure people understand how big and how ready his body is with this Game Boy Micro.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're. The thing is, I think one. Go ahead. Yes.
No, that's just like kind of the note that the movie ends on. Like you mentioned, like his death, but no, like I feel like, you know, like the movie ends with him like kind of like walking into in front of a crowd, right? And like the spots are blinding, but people are shouting his name.
Reggie!
Right, yeah, and like basically like the spotlights you know, fade to white, and then like that's the big. Like that's the end. That's the very end, and then the credits roll because like this is after his moments of doubt, you know, like his fall. But then like he picked himself back up. Like at some point, I feel like you could have a voiceover. Like I was feeling like a purple Pikmin, and you know, like that's just like when he's at his lowest.
Right, you think about the string of action set pieces you could have as he gallantly prevents Disaster from being released in America single-handedly. He's saving Nintendo from ruin.
You know what? You say that, but like maybe we have you know, sometimes when you have in a movie you might have a scene that's very similar to a previous one as a nice callback. He's sitting in a modern conference room, maybe not quite modern, maybe like 2007 era modern, and someone's describing Disaster to him, and he starts to blank out again. The set pulls away. And it's him in a car with the volcano. And this is all just in his mind. He's just imagining himself through it.
No,
and then afterwards...
There's just like enormous string of the movie. It just is like a 90s disaster movie for like many, many minutes. Scene after scene after scene just strung together. Huge budget. Much as omni-consumer products will give us to make this fucking thing. Right? With volcanoes and bears and, you know, everything.
He wrestles a bear.
Yeah, and then it all comes to it and he goes, oh shit, isn't it? And then that's
the set, like, just like the idea of the set flying back in.
It's
it's the exact same. Reggie, you there? No, that's a bit shit.
It doesn't work.
Releasing that.
Pass.
Like, I think 10 minutes is enough for that sequence, long enough that the audience forgets that this is all in his head. And then it comes crashing back to reality. But then when they pan to the room, he's still kind of in a fog. And so one of the people sitting in the chair is the bear. And then he shakes his eyes and it's just a person. See, you want to end it while he's still popular. I think he needs one last fall and rise. I want him to go through, what was it, the Bakugan game that NWR gave a 1? Like, I want a sequence that's just him, like, he's got this shit game, but he's on the board of this company, needs to do with it. He goes, I can get this game promoted. And he's on the phone using all of his contacts, strong-arming people. I used to run this company! Put us in the show! And he gets it, and then the game comes out as shit, and that's his fall. And, like, at the end, he's writing the book. It's the last scene is him, like in Lord of the Rings, where he's writing his red book.
The last pages are for you, Doug.
That's right. He's writing the red book, and then he closes it and gets on the boat. That's it. To me, that's it. Like, just make. First off, we've made a better movie than whatever this touches.
What?
He's on the boat.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
The Undying Lands of GameStop. That's the most inappropriate.
No, the Undying Lands of the retirement home he's buying off the GameStop money he's getting. On a golf course, probably. Maybe with a lake.
And then you see it. White Shores. No, it's a bunker. It's a golf course. That's what I'm looking at.
Like he's on the boat, it's foggy, and then you realize it's a fishing trawler, and the guy goes, they stock this lake with trout. Oh, I should take up fishing. And then credits. And we're out. First off, we've just made a better movie than this Tetris movie. No question. It's a much funnier movie. But two, this Tetris movie is almost exactly the same, like beat for beat as the movie about Nike that's coming out starring Matt Damon about getting Michael Jordan's contract for his shoes. It's the same fucking movie. He's racing other shoe companies to get the contract. I think it's called Air. I think the movie's actually called Air. So, yeah, we've made a better movie than either of these. They both seem like parody. At least ours owns it.
The thing is, if these are successful, I mean, God knows how many more we're going to get. It's going to be ridiculous. God! Can't wait to see the spirited story of John Madden's fast-acting, ton-acting commercials. Or whatever. That's going to be a corker. To be fair, it probably will be a thing about Madden creating Madden to the extent EA, that'll probably happen.
That's a good one. I actually do want to see a movie about Madden.
But I think it's too broad, isn't it? I mean, if you included his football career as well, but, even if you're just looking at, the EA process and all that, or his being an announcer too, but you've got to focus solely on the fast acting and acting campaign if you want a coherent narrative when it comes to
So I'm gonna go ahead and cast that right now. John Goodman is John Madden.
Okay.
Like, I think that works, and I think he can give us a convincing boom, tough acting, and acting.
Yeah, he could crash through a little brick wall or whatever. Just out of nowhere.
Yeah. I feel like, I don't know, like it's going to be like a commercial, movie, it's going to try to make the most money possible. But I feel like there's space, there's like an opportunity to play with like form here and maybe, make a statement about the games as well. And so what if like you keep re-releasing the same movie with minor tweaks every year?
It's evergreen, isn't it?
All right, let me one up you. What if you released the same movie with minor tweaks at the same time? Two versions, same movie, same time, slightly different. I'm going to. You could either say Pokemon this shit or Clue this bitch. I don't care which one you want.
The Clue had different endings.
It did. I remember at one point the cable edit of that, it was all the endings back to back to back. which made the movie like significantly longer because they put an ad after every ending. I think we've extracted all the blood from this stone.
Pretty much, except it is sort of, you see, Yamauchi there, kind of being portrayed. I guess that's probably one of the things that people have picked on as kind of a bit of a trip, to say Yamauchi always sort of came across as this sort of fictional character. Anyway,
right? Yeah, you don't need to make him more approachable. The idea, Yamauchi's thing is that he's remarkably unapproachable.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, just the whole thing about buying the Mariners and never going to see them and all that. I mean, it is like not just like fictional, but like children's fiction or something. The kind of extrematized figure that he was, But
also, people noticed, that they messed up by having the fictional Yamauchi play actually a video game. Whereas, it would have been, the movie probably would have been better off showing him, just watching other people play games. Like, that's a funny thing that was an actual thing, right? So
it's a weird anachronism that, no, the funnier, more movie character-y thing is reality.
Right.
This would be like whenever they inevitably make the Vince McMahon biopic and they make him come off as normal. No, nothing about that man is normal.
It is a problem, isn't it, when you do biopics of certain public figures, where it's kind of like, well, yeah, but I mean, if he's going to be the main character, essentially, in this dramatization, he needs to be more relatable than the actual person was, because otherwise people won't be able to stick with it for a feature length.
We're making a dramatization. But how are you gonna make it more interesting? No, we're gonna make it less interesting. This dude is too weird.
It's too much.
He's too hard. We can't keep dealing. This motherfucker owned the biggest video game company in the world and refused to play them.
Was it in The Wire where they had a character fall down from 3 or 5 floors and got away with it, and it was based on an actual thing where they fell from a much higher number of floors, and but that was too big. People wouldn't believe it.
They wouldn't, but they would think it was them not being realistic. Yeah, but I mean, you do get some very improbable survival story. But that's the point, isn't it? They're improbable, and then we hear about the one time that it happened where they did survive, and it's well, yes, the vast majority of the time they would not.
I mean, yeah, there's the story of the woman who survived her parachute not working skydiving. That's very unusual. She probably should have died. But I'll tell you, I'm not going to try it. I'm good. Thanks.
Thanks.
So, the idea of, hey, let's do and I think, Yamauchi should be a relatively minor character in this one, so I think you just leave him as cartoony as he is. You just lean... Maybe you even lean into it a little bit. What do you mean he doesn't play video games? He owns a video game company. He doesn't play video games. Why? He thinks they're a waste of time. Well, why does he make them then? Does that make him money? It's just that conversation happened. I'm sure it happened many times whenever Americans came into the fold and someone's explaining it to them, because he put his son-in-law in charge of the U.S. branch because he's been to America a bunch. It's this guy's a lunatic. Lean into it. Let it go. Don't dial it down. Dial it up. I want to see what the movie version of Yamauchi is. I want him to be video games in my presence are destroyed.
I'll tell you what, if you're talking about the Jordan thing, we could have a movie about them getting Tyson's rights for Punch-Out.
Oh, there we go. And then having to bury the rights.
The very horrible places that story goes. But
son of a bitch!
It's drama. If you want that, it's got it.
And then you could do a jump forward at the end, the redemption story part. This will get Mike involved, although a paycheck will also get Mike involved. By just jumping forward to the fact that he made a fairly successful Scooby-Doo parody in the 2010s afterwards. His career's come all the way back All right. Well, I think we've pretty well exposed the frauds that Apple TV for their inability to make good content and our ability to make good content. So you can send us your I don't know what budget do we need for our movie? $3 billion? That feels like a good Amazon number. $3 billion?
Sure. Yeah, well, definitely, if we were going to make Disaster Day of Crisis the 5-season TV event that it needs to be, I think, that is expensive.
If you ever get the chance, watch one episode of La Brea. It's the stupidest shit on television, and it's basically just this. They fall through a tar pit, and it becomes Land of the Lost. It's great. Fuck this movie. Fuck that show. But see, I think, all right, say $3 billion for a season, per season. And if we get renewed, I want to renew for at least 5, not 1, like a normal company. So if you can send us that contract that binds you to pay us, but doesn't necessarily bind us to finish the show, that would go to rfn@nintendoworldreport.com. That's rfn@nintendoworldreport.com. You will be hearing from our lawyers. You can also send us your questions, thoughts, comments, observations, pitch content to make our show better that we will definitely not credit you for and will not pay you for receiving. If you send it to us, it is property of Nintendo World Report and Radio Free Nintendo. Specifically Radio Free Nintendo, because we're not cutting them in on a goddamn red cent of our movie deal. So, send those today. Also, The Legend of Zelda Wind Waker Retroactive is now underway. Accordingly, we have to get it done by March. We are presently in March. My March sucks, so we'll figure out something probably at the end of the month. I can just tell you right now, I've got major releases for the next 3 weeks. So, yeah, I don't know how that's going to work out, but we'll figure something out. But we'll get on that. I will have a thread created in the NWR forum. Somebody already made a Discord thread. I don't tend to poke into the Discord threads, so you might not see me that much, but it's around. You can put them in there. I'll make sure we check it before the show. And your comments could find their way into the show, or they could lead us into a prompt for a conversation about the game. So go ahead and get started. It's not super long, honestly. You can still go to the eShop. You can still buy it, but time is running out. So go ahead and get your copy today if you don't already have one. You can play it on the GameCube, or you can play the Wii U version. We don't care. I think we're pretty much all going to play the Wii U version, if I had to guess. Mm-hmm. Just for the Swift sale.
Oh, well, yeah. And it's just, I can do off TV play. That's a hell of a lot more convenient than getting the GameCube work or the Japanese Wii or whatever.
I've owned the Wind Waker HD for a long time, but I never actually played through it. And this is my first time. And I was like, do I need the Swift sale really? And then I realized okay, it's not just twice as fast to get around. Also, you don't need to change the wind direction. Right. And that's when I understood oh shit, okay, this is great.
Yeah, that's its big perk, is that you don't have to mess with the wind as much. So that is happening soon. I don't have a date yet, but I'll get you on. So go ahead and start playing. On that, Greg, what is our music to close out the show this week?
Well, yeah, I thought I'd pick something from Metroid Fusion soundtrack, and like I said, it's a different kind of atmosphere from quite a lot of the Metroid games, really. Even though I said some of it's because the GBA was quite different kind of sound technology from the Super Nintendo, but it's got this very overtly electronic kind of sound to it, which I think is a lot of it just tying into the setting of it's the space station rather than a planet and all this kind of, that's just the kind of direction they took with it. So it's got less of a, kind of, natural atmosphere as Super Metroid, but I think it works for what it is trying to do, and it was pretty effective. I think at times you've got these sort of almost horror movie elements to it, when the SAX is kind of coming for you and all that sort of thing. But the one I've chosen is from, I think it was the first time you visit the Sector 4, the AQA sector. So it's not the really kind of atmospheric, sleepy underwater music, but it's more kind of the kind of low-lying tension kind of stuff before that. But it gives you an idea of what they were the vibe they were going for with this, which, like I said, I think given what they had to work with on the GBA, especially kind of early on, it's one of the more effective early soundtracks on the system, I think.
Cool. All right. Well, on that, it is time for us to go. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.